Yo, what it do, y'all? Welcome back to the Phantom Frequency, y'all. This is where we get into the entire multiverse of pop culture, if you will. I'm talking about Marvel. I'm talking about music. I'm talking about anime. I'm talking about comic books. We cover it all here, whether, all in the same show, all different stuff. We do long form, short form content. We do it all around these parts. So make sure you're clicking the subscribes and all the like buttons and all that stuff. Click all the buttons below the video. It really does help us out a lot. We've been trying to get to this thing for a while, man. And I'm talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. You saw the title of the title of the video. Y'all know the deal. We're getting into it. Better late than never. We're talking about Quantumania, the latest Ant-Man film, the first thing in Phase 5.
Ant-Man number 3.
Ant-Man 3, y'all. Ant-Man 3. And a lot of hype was going into this one. It's going to be the big introduction of our next big bad, our next Thanos. Jonathan Majors' character of Kang the Conqueror, not He Who Remains from Loki, man. We're talking about the true blue Kang the Conqueror, if you will. Or is it? There's been some speculation in retrospect after the movie, man. After the movie, we shall see how that all pans out, man. I don't know. But overall, man, it was a damn good time. I thoroughly enjoyed it for the most part, but we're going to get into our overall thoughts here, and I want to start with you, sir. What did you think about Quantumania overall, man?
Okay, so this movie has been getting a lot of hate online, obviously.
Yeah. Lowest Rotten Tomato views, biggest box office drop, in the second biggest in week 2. It's a little
getting
crazy.
No love for something that is so great, in my opinion. I like it very much. Starts off, obviously, with Scott Lang being just living his normal life a little bit, regular. No, I can't say normal life because he's a hero, but there's nothing going on. He's just out there getting coffee, getting free donuts, getting his meals paid.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
Yeah, you show. Yeah, obviously you see him and oh my god, and Hope, like relationship. They're still thriving. It's all good, and then you get me Cassie. I really like Cassie. As I think, as I mentioned before, some of these young heroes have not been my favorite right now. Especially,
not been hitting for you, huh?
Yeah, especially Kate Bishop.
Ooh.
Kate Bishop to me has not been for sure. Like, okay, I'm not gonna hate on it right now. It's not about her. But yeah,
he hates Kate Bishop. You heard it here first. Title of the video: Kate
good.
Bishop is the worst.
She's just not
clickbait.
mature. And I understand, I guess, the background from both of them different. How you said earlier, how obviously. Kate Bishop comes from like a rich family. Not so much to worry about as in Cassie. That grows up with
pops is in jail from stealing shit.
Yes.
Mom's out here trying to make it work, man. She can't even get child support because his food's locked up. You know what I mean? They going through some shit, In
a way, she also grows up without a dad because
several times,
he gets not snapped, but he's actually in the quantum realm.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, I like how she, even though she was by herself, she still took up the mantle to study and do research on the quantum realm and everything that the Lang particles and all that. No, it's not Lang particles. So sorry.
Pim particles, sir. Yeah. Excuse me, sir. It's called the Pim particle.
This movie, to me, it was great. I love the comedy of it. The action was cool. But I would say the only downside was how Kang went down.
That's been a hot topic, y'all.
Because we already had one variation of Kang being in Loki.
Yep, He Who Remains.
This would make you feel that this was the main Loki, even though in a way, Loki, the main Kang, even though in a way there isn't really a main Kang because they could all just jump around.
That's the whole purpose
exactly.
of it, yeah.
And I feel people don't really understand that because they have so much hate on Kang, but it's just that he is able to just jump around to all these realms. That's Kang. That's his character. But yeah, what about you? What do you think?
For me overall, man, I will say I enjoyed it. I would say there's some aspects to it that I think were a little bit disappointing. Kang slightly, not a lot. I don't think Kang is the worst villain. I don't think the Phase 5's doomed. I don't think there's no way you can make Kang that next Thanos level threat. I just don't feel like they made him menacing enough to really make it hit in the way that everyone felt the presence and felt the danger and felt the doom necessarily. See what I did there? But That's the problem, I think, a little bit with the character of Kang. That was one of my issues. Mixed. It's a mixed thing for me, and this movie's a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I like it. I don't love it. I don't dislike this movie, but I definitely felt like some of the charm of the other two Ant-Man films was missing in this one, too. I kind of missed them being... Now, I knew it was going to be in the quantum realm. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. I think they maybe should have took a little more time in the first act, maybe like 30 minutes, 20-some minutes, to be in the real world and have some of the shrinking and going down and the sizing and catching up with Lewis and catching up with his boys, David Dalsmashian coming back. David Dalsmashian actually played the guy that was asking about the holes the whole time, that weirdo.
Guap or something?
Guap or Goop or something like that. Yeah, get the name for me there. But he played an alternate character that was hilarious, which I will get into right now as we get into my positives and stuff more specifically. But I thought you could have had more of those characters in there. No Judy Greer. I felt like you missed the emotional connection of Cassie's mother as well as her father.
That's true, yeah.
And the dichotomy of the relationship. You really missed that there. I get it was set up in Ant-Man 1 especially, but Ant-Man 2, she wasn't really in the film much, and Ant-Man 3, you didn't really even have her in there. So you kind of missed a lot of the family dynamic and some of the charm of the interaction with Ant-Man and Wasp. And speaking of Wasp, I think that character was completely underutilized in this movie, and that is actually my biggest gripe with the movie, more so than Kang. I don't like the way they wasted Hope Van Dyne in this movie, man. I think they completely wasted this character, man. Like, I think she doesn't do anything important until the very last second of the film.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that is a complete misstep, and I don't understand why they would do that when she's literally the co-lead of the film. I think they did a great job in Ant-Man and the Wasp of making her prevalent and stepping up for that misdirection they did in the first film.
Yes.
But it's like, y'all missed the boat on that in this thing, man. All she does is bitch and complain that her mom ain't telling her secrets and shit in the movie. Understandably so. Which leads me to my next point with these two characters. These two characters were completely wasted in the movie almost to me as well. Now, I like Cassie and Hank Pym over there, played by the great Michael Douglas here, as y'all will see on your left. He was fun in the movie. I liked his performance. I thought him and Cassie having a relationship was really dope.
That was cool, yeah.
But we didn't get to see that fester through the rest of the film. We didn't see them interact or have any fun interactions as granddad and granddaughter.
I mean, in a way, they got separated.
They did,
So,
which I understand.
yeah.
But you don't really build on that relationship, so you kind of drop the ball there. And we get it set up, but you don't go anywhere with it. And I think that's a big issue kind of overall with some of the character arcs in here, which I'll kind of get to a little bit more on my negative. I don't want to take up too much time in that regard here. Just kind of want to generally hit it. I did like a lot of the stuff with Janet Van Dyne, other than the aspect of her not telling them what the hell's going on with Kang. If he's that big of a threat, get to it. Tell me what's going on. Not in the first 5 minutes, not in the first 20, but by the time they get sucked in the quantum realm and almost get killed off and shit, I need to know. At least by the time we meet Bill Murray, what is going on?
Yeah,
I hate how she held that back just to kind of keep the mystery of who's there.
Yeah.
We know who he is.
They talked
so
about
you
him
building up this mystery of
time.
him,
They didn't name drop it.
them.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, dude, we're talking about Ezra Miller here and trying to get our pronouns right. Like, no, we're talking about Kang the motherfucking Conqueror. Call him the Conqueror. That's all they had to do. The Conqueror. Oh, shit. Watch out for the Conqueror. We would have got it.
Yeah.
They would have got it. At least it would have sounded cooler for people that don't know the comic book lore. For us, we would have been like, ha-ha, Kang, baby. I get you want to hold back the name and let him name drop it, the way that Jonathan Majors does later in the movie where he kills it. But that was my only issue with Janet Van Dyne. But I loved her backstory with Kang. I liked the journey that she went on for the most part. Michelle Pfeiffer killed it. She was one of my favorite aspects of the movie for sure. These two guys I had almost zero complaints with. Scott, I don't really have much complaints with in this movie. I just don't feel like they took him on enough of a character arc in there. We'll get more into that later. But Kang, man, Jonathan fucking Majors. This guy is a superstar already. He is going to be that Thanos level threat. I tell you, as long as they can continue to improve the writing with him and continue to let him be a little more menacing and really bring and drive that home and let him hone in on the performance as he has been already, we're going to be in for something special, guys. This is just the beginning. Josh Brolin was not what we come to know him as Thanos in Phase 2 until we saw him near the end of Phase 3. So y'all need to have some patience. I think some of you guys out there, that TikTok attention span is not doing y'all favors, man, because I'm telling you, you need to be patient, y'all. We waited years before we got any real level of threat from Thanos, guys.
Yeah,
we waited years.
Almost like
I'll
10
do
years.
it myself. That was 2015 when we heard that. We had already been waiting since 2012. So it had been 3 years. Y'all ain't even been waiting over 2 years yet, and you're already complaining, man. Like, it's like, relax. We're going to get to see the full level of what he can do. My issue lies more with his threat in this film with Ant-Man and these guys. That's my problem. He should have wiped the floor with these guys. He should have won at the end of this movie.
He kind of did. Oh, he should have won.
He should have won at the end of this movie. We'll get into it in a little bit, but he should have won to me in this movie. Kang should not have had as much of an issue, or they should have had a more clever way of defeating him that didn't seem so shoehorned in the last second. One of the two ways, at least for me. But everything that Jonathan Majors did as an actor was great. I love the design of the suit. I love the way they did the helmet. I love the way that they stayed true to most of that comic book lore in there. And there was a little bit of an explainer of why he was a little bit weaker than he normally is, but not entirely so, in my opinion. And I also love how they haven't name dropped his real name from where his lineage comes from. You know what I mean? So I like how they haven't dropped that name yet either. That was another good thing they carried over here.
Yeah.
And yeah, but other than that, that was a little bit of my issue there. But yeah, and then I'll say with Cassie Lang, I liked her a lot. I really liked Catherine Newton's performance. I'm actually a pretty big fan of hers.
She's a different actress from the
yeah, they definitely
Endgame, right?
Yeah, they recast it for sure because she's a little bit more of a name. She's been working a little bit longer too. You know, she did like Detective Pikachu. She did this show on Netflix where she was one of the lead characters called The Society. She's been on. She did this really successful version of Little Women on BBC or something like that, where she was with Maya Hawke and all these other young actresses that are really popular or whatever.
Okay.
So she's been working for a minute, and she's a little bit more of a known actress than the other girl is. So I think that's why they kind of recast it. And I think she did a good job overall. I did like her character. I think she was a little too good at everything. Everything came a little too easy to her. I don't think she had a fully formed character arc. As I'll say more.
You think she was just too good? Like
a little bit, yeah. I
now
felt
that I
like she
think
didn't
about
have
it-
any growth in the film, and I felt like her and Scott's thing didn't resolve as well as it could have, as we'll
Yeah.
get into a little bit more. But yeah, man, like I said, just a little bit of a mixed element. But I like her. I want to see more of her. I just think they can improve the writing a little bit.
I'm gonna show. We'll see more of her.
Oh yeah, for
no
sure.
doubt.
She's a young actress. She's very talented. I liked what she did in here. I liked the suit. I think the suit design was cool as hell, and I liked her performance and I liked her presence. But I just think there was some writing
You are
stuff.
right about her, not necessarily being too good, because even though yes, she got the quantum realm and all
her
the
understanding that was cool.
Understand? No, okay. If no one was there from the whole Pym family and Scott are not there because they all got
Stuck in the realm or blipped or whatever.
How was she so good at everything without their help?
That's what I'm saying. He
Because
only been back for like a year.
When they came down to them fighting, you see her struggling, trying to throw those
little
good
bit,
punches.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I that's more believable, right? But her building the whole quantum realm portal that you're able to send messages, because that's how the movie starts off pretty much.
Yep.
I guess you're right. She was a little too good at some stuff, especially
A
at
bit.
that part.
I didn't mind her having a scientific mind and being smarter than Scott. That's actually funny and makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little too much too fast, I felt. And I felt like she was used to the suit and using the suit a little too fast, except for that nice little signature punch that they do. I just feel like she was too used to like using the suit too. I'm like, all you've done is trained or something. You haven't been in a real life situation with this shit.
Yeah.
And you're in the craziest situation almost possible with this thing.
Yeah.
That's possible other than like an Avengers level Secret Wars thing or something. So to me that feels a little inconsistent and a little like, all right, man. Like even Scott had to take the whole first movie to learn this stuff, man. Like it's like you can't like even Wasp, it took her a lot of training for a while to get as good as she did in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She had been training with the suit. She had did missions already. Like, she'd been doing it for a while. She never did any of that. She had been testing the technology with her father for years. Like, Hope made sense to me why she was so proficient with it. She was part of him developing the damn technology in the suit in the first place. Cassie was not. So that's why I think there was just some writing things that they took to just take shortcuts in here a little bit. But other than that, it was just more those kind of aspects as a film and as like the entertainment of the action and them getting into the quantum realm. I love the Star Wars vibes that you get with this thing. I love how it really does feel like a true blue, old school sci-fi film.
So many different alien races.
Yes.
Around? Yes.
And they were
really
so
like that.
interesting looking and it had unique designs that you don't see a million times over, even in Star Wars.
I'm a huge sucker for freaking
psychedelic like stuff. Yeah.
And this
Same
one
here.
hits it right there, you know?
Fuck yeah, which they needed to do for the quantum realm because everything we saw before was very trippy.
Yeah.
And I think they did a great job with it here. I think most of the special effects look really good too. And I think that all that stuff was cool. And most of the action scenes were good, man. I just had an issue with just more character development, some of the plot and things like that. And some of the pacing in the middle, I thought it felt like they were dragging out certain things. But overall, I like this movie. It's definitely an improvement on a couple things from Phase 4. It's definitely... it definitely is more consequential to what's going on in the MCU, and it makes sense why they wanted to do that with this film. But in a certain sense too, I do feel like since they didn't delve into time travel enough, they didn't delve into time being an element in this film enough, it made Kang feel a little out of place as the villain for Ant-Man in this movie, just because of the way they executed it, not in the idea.
Yes.
But overall, I still love that we got to see Kang. I still enjoyed the hell out of Scott Lang, aka Paul Rudd, in the movie. I like the introduction of Cassie. And Janet Van Dyne was really cool. And like I said, I liked all the creature designs, the sci-fi vibe. It was a fun adventure, man. And getting into all those positives, I want to keep that rolling. I love the introduction of getting to meet these people that live in the quantum realm for a little bit and getting to see what they're going through and what life is like down there.
Yeah.
And the whole freaking bit with the holes thing with this character that David Dastmalchian played cracked me up. Like, how many holes do you have? And then the psychic guy's like, he has 8, all right? And I was sitting there like for a second, like, oh yeah, we do have 8, huh? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, shit, all right. And I was like, damn, that's funny. But he's like, man, how many holes you got and all this shit? Like, he was so funny to me. And that to me, the comedy was hitting for the most part in this movie as well. MODOK, while it looks stupid as shit, was hilarious, man. This fool was cracking me up. Like, I'm an Avenger. He's like, no, you're not, dude. Yeah. Like when he was dying near the end, Scott's like, you're not an Avenger, bro. Calm down, all right? I'm barely an Avenger. You need to relax. Even I'm kind of name dropping at that point by saying that. But it's like, I went on one mission. I ain't even really an Avenger.
I do feel that MODOK got nerfed when he went up against Cassie.
I agree with you.
Because
that should have been the one fight right there that Cassie had a problem with.
Yeah.
He's a mechanism only designed for killing.
Yeah. That was probably one of the things where I was thinking
mechanized organism designed only for killing. Yeah,
you gotta kill this. No, okay, not kill. You gotta almost beat down this little girl.
That's what I'm saying. She should have had a real rough time. Whoops. She should have had a real tough time fighting this guy. The whole freaking thing, you know. She should have barely got out of there. She should have been fucked up like Scott was after fighting Kang. You know what I mean? Like how he looked like he got his ass beat, which at least I appreciated with that hand-to-hand fight they had later.
That was pretty cool.
But man, I'm like, come on, dude. This is what I'm talking about here. But overall, MODOK really cracked me up. I liked how it was Corey Stoll's character of Darren from the original film.
Darren Cross.
Yeah, Darren Cross, Yellow Jacket. I like the tie-in. MODOK's Yellow Jacket. The whole thing that ties in it thematically with the trilogy, him having a vendetta against the Pims and against those guys for getting sent to the quantum realm to begin with, the whole essence of us not realizing at the time where he got sucked down to, but how it all ties in now, a la Red Skull with the Soul Stone on Vormir. Oh, yeah. So I love the way that all that stuff ties in really well together, and that was some of the stronger writing right there for me, man. And I had a blast with that character. Very funny. Yeah, man, and I like the whole setup. Getting since we have Cassie highlighted, I actually liked where they did set up her character. I just don't think they necessarily deliver later on, as we'll get into. But I like the way they set her up to kind of be a little bit of a troublemaker, a little bit of a rebel, and someone that is very intelligent and kind of has a little bit of disdain and a little bit of a grudge against her dad for, you know, kind of being gone for all those years to go do superhero shit and get sucked into the realm and all this other stuff where he missed time. Not a grudge. I don't know what the right word is, but I feel like she kind of holds it against him and kind of feels a certain way about his previous history of getting arrested and getting in trouble and missing all that time with her so young.
Yeah.
And then her missing so much time in the critical time of her being a teenager and her developing into a young woman. I feel like he missed two very crucial aspects and parts of her life, so it makes sense why she kind of does have a little bit of a more strained relationship with him. And I think her calling Hope and not calling her mom, I thought was a very telling thing of where they're at with their relationship, man. And I thought that all that setup and all that intrigue that we got early on in the film really interested me, and I thought that was something that we were gonna really explore a little bit more. And it's not a TV series. I get we can't Last of Us this thing and go so super deep and complex with it, but I thought they would explore that just a little bit more in the film. But overall, the way they set it up, I liked. Yeah, and I already mentioned Kang and everything with Scott and everything like that. Let me see. I thought there was one more thing. One more thing besides the post credits. I want to leave that to the very end, post credit style. But I really liked Bill Murray in this thing too. I forget the name of the character, but I liked the way that he came in kind of funny, but then he played it very serious and actually made Kang seem very ominous. And I think at times the third act kind of let Kang's down in the sense of making his presence seem like this impending doom is on the way.
Yeah.
I think Bill Murray sold it better than the writing did in the third act, in his performance.
His name is Lord Krylar.
Thank you, Lord Krylar. And it was so funny how he had hooked up with Jane and freaking Hank Pym's like, the fuck, bro?
He just, oh my gosh. He just
the fuck, homie?
Right in front of,
I loved it. That to me was classic Bill Murray. That's something Bill Murray probably really did to somebody in real life at dinner. I absolutely love it. I really liked that introduction and that little quick cameo, and it actually was somewhat of a kind of somewhat important role in there, even though it was a short one. So
Yeah.
I really liked his cameo overall in there, man. And we'll get into the post credits for sure, but I have a lot more positive to say about him than negative, for sure.
For the movie?
For the post credits, we'll get into it later.
Okay.
But I got a lot of good stuff to say. I only have one little nitpick with it, but other than that, I love the post credits. Just to put that out there in the positives,
too.
I love them.
mean,
I get some of the complaint with it, but not entirely.
I am honestly a huge fan of Marvel, so I don't
Yeah,
think
me too.
You'll ever,
Diehards right here.
You'll ever hear me saying, "Yo, this part sucked," because as much as even I didn't enjoy Incredible Hulk, it was still a decent movie, you know.
I would say the MCU's had some sucky moments, but maybe I would say less than like 7 even. You know.
Okay, that's good. That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No franchise is perfect. Star Wars had some problems. Friday the 13th, man. Scream. Every franchise I like has some issues.
Jason X.
See what I'm saying? The existence of that alone is a blemish on the legacy. Every franchise has holes in it, and I think some people out there in fandom forget that. But we still love it. That's the main thing here. And anything negative or critique I say is just the way I saw it, just my perspective, y'all. Just remember, we love the MCU. We're diehard day one fans. I saw the MCU before I realized what the MCU was. So I always love it. I always will ride and die for it, and I'm in for it as long as they make it. But I'm going to call it as I see it. But I'm always going to go in wanting to love it, and I'm always going to have always can acknowledge what works, what doesn't, but I'm always going to have love for it. It's the MCU. I love the MCU.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Damn. All right. Post
Credits, man. Getting into some of those. Oh, yeah. Just one thing I want to say with the negative stuff.
What's up?
Just for the character development stuff I wanted to mention. I do think they dropped the ball on pretty much every character arc in here, except for Janet's a little bit. I think her and Hope should have actually been split off and had an adventure together and had more time to kind of develop and get more into that mother-daughter relationship that in a similar sense parallels Cassie and Scott, but even more. Hope missed 15 to 20 some years with her mother.
That's true.
I think that should have been a big thing that they were taught. They should have mentioned that. They should have talked about that a little bit. I think their relationship should have had more nuance to it, and it didn't have any of that except for her being like, "You lied to me." That one scene. That's all we get. We don't get any more development in that. We're too busy over here with MODOK for 7 scenes when we should have been having more scenes with that, even though I enjoyed MODOK. That's another issue I had right there. And I also didn't like the way that Hank Pym, he almost had no purpose of really being there, you know, after they got sucked up in there until he brought the whole ant army at the end, which I'm going to get to in just a second here. I had a little bit of an issue with that as well. Like he comes with this super advanced civilization of ants that got sucked into the quantum realm a long time ago, right? I get it. I just think ants shouldn't have been the main thing that beat down Kang. I just think they should have maybe just distracted him long enough for them to come up with some kind of alternative to be able to beat him. Because for me, it's like, if you're going to have Kang the Conqueror, who isn't necessarily the highest of power level, but he's up there in the hierarchy of his potential of danger and how smart he is and things like that, he should have had some kind of workaround against Scott Lang, of all people. Mm-hmm. Hank Pym, I get, can kind of outsmart him, but, you know, him being from where he's from, he is somewhat smarter, if not smarter than Hank Pym, so I think he should have had some kind of workaround there. And I don't necessarily like the way that was the main reason why he got defeated just about. That, to me, was a little too silly. And other than that one point, I think Hank Pym can have almost been cut out of this movie, just the way they executed that. And yeah, man, and Cassie, like I said, no development on her character or her relationship with Scott Lang at all, or her dad. You don't get to any of that. All of a sudden, by the end of the movie, they just get along much better now. But they never talked it out. They never really went through anything. That's the thing I like with The Last of Us, or not The Last of Us as an example, because that's a TV series. But that's one thing I really like for something like even, like I'm going to go with the MCU example here. I really like in Shang-Chi how you get the sense of the relationship with him and his sister Xialing, and you really get an understanding of the history they have between each other with the way they interact. But they took time in that movie to show you different points in their life and how their relationship has changed over time. A time where they were kids and where she saw him as a protector of hers that abandoned her. You got the whole sense of why that was and the whole context of that situation. She had a burden that was put upon her because of his actions, so you understood it because it was a full 3-act thing that you made sense. And by the time at the end of the movie they fought together, they came to an understanding and talked it out. They now have resolved that problem in the film. They didn't do that with Cassie and Scott. They just skipped all that middle portion of the movie where they actually had conversations about it, where he actually saw the burden that was put on his sister and actually had an understanding of what went down.
Yeah.
You don't get that with this movie at all after the first act, after they set it up. So you don't get that. You don't get Hope and Janet. You don't get anything really important with Hank at the end of the day. And I also feel like Scott Lang didn't change as much as a person. And I think, like, you know, the trailer, how they said, I can give you more time with your daughter.
Yes.
I thought, now maybe this was just me, like, projecting too much, but I thought that they were going to have some kind of plot point or something in there that he was going to offer him a timeline where he didn't lose time with his daughter, where he got to be there for everything, where he maybe didn't go to jail, maybe where he was Ant-Man but got to be a hero his whole career and his whole life. That's what I thought he was going to offer him, something like that, like how Miss Minutes was offering to the Lokis. I thought that was the vibe we were going to go for because that was the dynamic we had set up with time. They didn't do that. All they did was have him do some stupid heist to get a part that Janet had destroyed that does tie into 10 Rings and the bangle from Miss Marvel. That was a great tie-in that I thought was very necessary and some good writing right there. But it was just like these mixed elements around that. And I like that sequence where they're going in to steal the stuff and you see all the probabilities and he's all like, hey, what's with the Baskin Robbins shit? You got any ice cream? Like, that cracked me up, and I thought that was a cool sequence. But I just thought that him and Kang, it's just like, I don't get why they didn't go more into time and more into him offering something to him that actually made it more of a conflict or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of potential they didn't really hit with some of the Kang and Ant-Man stuff in there overall. And I like the fight with him and Kang, though. That was really cool. But I thought just him getting taken out almost exclusively by ants in a last-minute save and shit like that. The Wasp just pops up for a second, and then he gets sucked into a portal like it's Captain America, the First Avenger again.
I mean, now this is confirmed that he didn't get defeated.
No, we knew. I figured that, so that didn't bother me. But that was just some of the stuff about the movie that bothered me a bit, which just held me back from loving it. But that was all, man. But I enjoyed the hell out of it, man, you know, for the most part. But just some of that stuff was kind of a little more nitpicky for me. But I think in retrospect, as we have more time to rewatch it, I'll probably enjoy it a little more because I won't have as much, like, hype or build up or whatever.
Yeah, I think Kang should have been mopping the floor with
you know what I'm
Scott,
saying?
Yeah, at the end, for sure.
Like, it should have took something a hell of a lot crazier
I
to
think-
beat him for the meantime.
Okay, he should have been beating him up pretty hard, and then Wasp should have came in to try to save him more. Like,
Better
you know,
hand-to-hand
yeah,
fighter,
yeah, exactly.
2-on-1,
And
okay.
She knows martial arts way more than Scott does. It could have been now two of them get up against Kang. Okay, that would have been more in the title of Ant-Man and the Wasp defeating.
I would have had
freaking
him,
Kang,
Janet, and freaking Hope fighting this fucker. Then Cassie comes in with some smarts because she does have intelligence to come up with something that can beat him similar to what they did. But to me, just having more of a presence or having two giant mans, giant woman, giant man, giant wasp, giant man fighting this fool, like, you should have had something a little bit more climactic, a little bit more of that risk of that impending doom because I didn't feel any of that.
Yeah.
I even would have maybe had one of them get stuck in the quantum realm or something.
That's what I was. That's what I thought was gonna happen, and now that I think about it, I kind of hope that happened. That Ant-Man and the Wasp would have stayed because obviously the portal went away after defeating Kang.
Exactly.
And then Hank and Cassie brought the portal back on. You know.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
eventually down the line, you know, Secret War is a la the way they did with Endgame and Infinity War, but they didn't do that. So it just felt like it was this whole happy ending, all this nice little neat bow on it. And it just felt like, why did you go with that direction if we're setting up a big bad? Like, you should have had him defeat and win the day or temporarily lose, but they still have to sacrifice something. Like, I just felt like there wasn't enough stakes in there for this to be this big kickoff to the next Thanos level threat. That's some of the stuff where they dropped the ball. Not in Kang as a character in general, just some of the aspects of how they defeated him for the meantime and things like that. So I think we're kind of on the same page for the most part there. But, you know, you guys getting two different perspectives on that right there, man. But we're going to end this off right here with the post-credit scene. So first post-credit scene is, I got that thing recorded on my phone, man. So I was like, I can watch that thing until I get the DVD. But you got 3 versions of Kang, some of the most popular variants of Kang. You got Rama Tut version of Kang, the one from back in ancient Egypt times that actually ended up in the comics actually ended up appointing Apocalypse as the next pharaoh and ruler of Egypt as he left to another point in the timeline, which we've speculated on. Come on, Kevin Feige, let's do that shit, bro. Let's set up Apocalypse to be dope this time. Let's do it. I think you got a whole nother. That's a whole nother 3-phase thing right there.
Yeah,
you know,
so
that's my big pitch for the next 3 phases. Doctor Doom, Galactus, sit your ass down. Apocalypse is where we're at. X-Men, that's the future. That's the next era of Marvel. I've talked about it before. I'm gonna have to make a whole freaking video discussing that. I'm gonna nerd out one of these days, really big time. Just be like, oh, everywhere, nerding out. Anyway, but yeah. So and then we get introduced to Immortus, which is another version of Kang that's very popular from the comics. Don't love the design of him; looks a little goofy, but it's all good. No big deal there. Comic book characters do inherently look goofy a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Whether you love it, whether you hate it. Come on, man. We got a talking raccoon and tree running around. We can't get too serious. Let's not go MODOK, but I think Immortus is okay. And then you have one other version of him, which I don't necessarily know that version of Kang.
He
Off the top of my head.
Yeah, me neither. He kind of also reminds me like the Egyptian one, but they're not.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
There's is Immortus. Ramatutton is the third version from the comics. I'll have to do some research on the back end when I'm editing this thing, and I'll throw in the name of that version in here somewhere. But, yeah. Throw in a little clip right there to let you all know about that one. But there's 3 versions talking to each other saying, well, that one fucked up. The one that we banished, apparently, because he's so bad, I guess, or something like that. And they're like, well, we're going to have to try again, I guess. But no matter. We got all of us here together now. So we'll be able to take out these Avengers and all that shit and take over the multiverse once and for all. This goddamn He Who Remains fucked up everything, man. I tell you. This guy trying to make one timeline? What the fuck is this guy talking about? And this guy over here dealing with ants? This guy sucks. What are we going to do now, guys? Did you call the rest? Yep. How many did you call, man? All of them. He's like, what? All of them, bro. So take a look. And then the camera pans over, if that's the correct term, and you get to see a whole entire arena.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained? Galactus style, full of Kang the Conquerors. You got 100 freaking versions of Jonathan Majors on screen, all doing crazy different shit, man. You get all these different versions, and then they're all over there like they're at the freaking milk can at our old high school, like, ooh, 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 yeah! And I was like, okay, that was kind of weird. I don't know why they're all cheering like that. That was kind of strange.
Neither, yeah.
When you just lost, apparently, for the meantime. But anyway, but then that was kind of weird and goofy, and then it goes to black, and then we go back to the credits, and then we wait for the true blue, not mid-credit scene, but post-credit scene that picks up with 2 of the awesomest characters in the MCU, one new, one classic. I'm talking about Loki Laufenson and the guy that deserves a jet ski, Mobius, baby. They're back somewhere in time in Loki Season 2, we would assume, and they're in there talking to Victor Timely. They're seeing a big live presentation by the Victor Timely version of Kang the Conqueror, which I don't know a whole ton about. Sorry, I clicked the wrong picture. It's another version of that guy. It's a Victor Timely version of that character who's something from colonial times or something weird like that. The whole Kang thing. He's got his whole, almost like Black Albert Einstein look going on.
Yeah.
And, he's over there giving a presentation about shit. And he's like, Mobius is looking at Loki like, this is who you're afraid of, bro? He ain't doing shit except giving a fucking boring-ass presentation. He's all, trust me, bro. You don't fucking get it, all right? This guy could be the end of everything. And you're like, ooh, I wonder what's going to be going on. Are we not going to get Kang the Conqueror, but we're going to get this guy, Victor Timely, for the whole Season 2? That raises a lot of interesting questions about Season 2, man. And I really love that post-credit scene even more than the Kang the Conqueror one, with all the Council of Kangs.
Yeah.
The implication, dope as shit. And I can't wait to see that really come to life and get to see Jonathan Majors pulling a fucking split on screen for a whole fucking movie called Kang Dynasty. And, but yeah, man, but what you think about the post-credit scene, man? Other than the little goofy element, that's the only thing I don't like. But everything else, I like it.
I like them both very much.
Yeah, me too.
I liked the stadium one a little more than the
okay
one.
Just because the implication, the Council of Kangs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I feel you.
I feel that it gives you a more understanding that why this Kang lost, because there's
What we're
other
building up
more
to.
stronger Kangs out there, and the one from Loki, I would think that is just more focused on the show.
He Who Remains type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and compared to the one that we saw with the stadium, this one is going to starts off the whole what we're going to be waiting for the next few years.
Exactly.
So I liked it a lot.
Yeah, me too, man. It's kind of like that classic phase 2 and 3 kind of thing with the post-credit scene. They've kind of like a big credit scene and then like an insular one that kind of affects the characters.
Yeah.
Maybe considered with that film, where the other one's kind of like the big implication for the whole entire phase or the whole entire world or whatever. So I definitely dug these post-credit scenes. I think they're some of the better ones in a while, for sure. So I really dug them overall, man. And one thing I wanted to mention real quick, a lot of speculation I saw someone else talking about on one of the YouTube channels I was watching. It was actually, I can't remember the exact one. I got to try to figure that out and give credit to it later. But there was these guys talking about this movie, and they were talking about this limited run. Oh, yeah, it was The Real Rejects. I want to give a shout-out to those guys, because they were talking about this limited run that came out, a miniseries in the last year or so called, just simply called Kang the Conqueror or something like that. And it was all about different versions of Kangs and like what they were up to and how the whole Council of Kings kind of came together and all that stuff. And I was like, wouldn't that be super dope the way they did with Infinity War, how it was focused on Thanos a lot more than like most villains get in MCU. It was almost like a half Avengers movie, half Thanos.
Yes.
You got a lot of focus on him and assembling everything.
Yes.
I would love for Kang Dynasty to have like a whole like 15 to like 20 minute like or like a lot of the focus to be like about the different Kangs like coming together and everything like that. Like I think that'd be cool to have a
That would
heavy
be really
focus
cool, yeah.
on that and make him really prevalent in the same way, and even maybe begin the movie with a flashback of, you know, freaking the first Kang encountering another one and all that. I really hope they just dive all in and give him a lot of focus in that Kang Dynasty and really make it live up to the name. But I hope they really adapt some of that storyline for this for the film. I think that'd be really cool to do what they did with the Thanos quest into Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War, essentially being what the real Infinity Gauntlet story was towards the end of it and everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the way they might end up doing it, but I think that'd be cool to see.
That'd be pretty cool. I agree. Just because Thanos is just one person, you know. Kang is just, as you saw, like millions, pretty much.
They could just do different flashbacks of how
Yeah.
each Kang came to be in the council, you know?
Or-
show Ramatut in Egypt, show a
Yeah,
Mortis in like
okay,
2050.
exactly.
And then I think they should hold us back until either Fantastic Four or Kang Dynasty, but I would like them to wait till Kang Dynasty or the post-credits of Fantastic Four, depending on the time frame of that. But I would like them to not name drop him as Nathaniel Richards until then, and then show that version, the original version that discovered the timeline to begin with. I think it would be awesome as well. But yeah, man. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you, man. That's all I got, man. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up?
I think it's not that bad of a movie. That's all I gotta say. That's for sure.
What do you rate it, man? 1 out of 10.
Rated a 7.5.
I'm right there with you, bro, but I'm going to go just a slight bit lower. I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give it a solid just 7. Entertaining, solid movie, worth a rewatch. I don't necessarily need to run out to the theater again to see it, but it's definitely not a wait for Netflix or a wait for a Disney Plus type situation. Go out and see it if you haven't seen it already.
Exactly.
But I think you only need one theater watch necessarily for the enjoyment of it. And then I figure, you know, go grab the Blu-ray, get on your Disney Plus, you know, watch that damn thing.
I might watch it one more time.
Really? In theater?
Yeah.
I feel you,
I'm
man.
still thinking about it. Maybe catch like
We got too much of a busy month, man. I can't do it.
yeah, that's
I can't do
true.
it. I'm literally going to be covering a different movie every week, including different series like The Last of Us and Mando. We're going to be covering a lot on the channel, y'all. We got a whole entire... I got Scream content planned for Scream 6. It's going to be busy around these parts, y'all. We're going to be busy working, man. The foot is on the gas pedal. We're going full speed ahead. We ain't stopping no time soon, baby. It's all about family. Hell yeah, baby. We doing it. We're doing it live, not really. But thank you so much for checking out this review, y'all. We got it in video and audio format, so jump on over to our podcast feed. We're getting close to 1,000 downloads. Let's hit that milestone, baby. Hit download on all those episodes. We're going to have this on both there. And don't you be sleeping on us, y'all. MCU content is going to be coming. We got a whole Phase 4 discussion in Part 2 of our ranking of our tier ranking of the entire Phase 4. We're going to have Part 2 coming at y'all real soon, and we got a lot of dope stuff planned for you guys. So make sure you're not sleeping on any of that dopeness. And yeah, so we're going to catch you guys again real soon. And until then, make sure you stay tuned. Don't sleep. Much love. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Hell yeah.
Peace.